Belgioioso Cheese is a family-owned and operated company specializing in artisan Italian cheesemaking. Using only natural ingredients and fresh, local Wisconsin milk, master cheesemakers handcraft a full line of exceptional cheeses, guided by a commitment to quality and a respect for tradition. Ask your distributor about Belgioioso's award-winning fresh mozzarella, burrata, ricotta, mascarpone, American grana, and Parmesan. At Belgioioso, every cheese is a specialty. Hi, and welcome to Extra Serving, a Nation's Restaurant News podcast. I am your host, Holly Petrie. Today, we're going to be talking about Burger King and what is going on with the brand's franchisees. Despite Burger King parent RBI investing heavily in franchisees for its Reclaim the Fame turnaround efforts, two of the chain's biggest franchisees have filed for bankruptcy within the past 2 months, Premier Kings and Meridian Restaurants Unlimited. Another franchisee, Tom's Kings, filed for bankruptcy back in January. So what is going on with Burger King? Also, we're going to be talking about tipping fatigue. Customers have become increasingly annoyed with surcharges, but now they're tired of tipping. A new survey from the Pew Research Center showed that customers are becoming tired of tipping everywhere they go. Think of your local coffee house asking for a tip on the iPad. What does this mean for restaurants? Finally, we're going to be talking about the Chicken Sandwich Wars 2.0. This new iteration of the famed chicken sandwich launched by Popeyes in 2019 focuses on flavor, sauces, and texture, all spurred by Gen Z. We know Gen Z likes boneless chicken, but now they're changing another chicken item. What is next? This week's interview is Douglas Streitzel, CEO and founder of Picklemans. And now it's time to introduce my lovely co-hosts.
I'm Sam Okus, Editor-in-Chief of Nation's Restaurant News.
And I'm Leanne Sinsmeister, Managing Editor, NRN.
Well, welcome, guys. We've had a big week over here. Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about what's been going on? Because it's major.
I would happily do that. Thank you, Holly. We have teased it for 2 months or so now. But we are finally excited to announce our brand icon winner. You might remember that we launched our brand icon last year. White Castle, which was celebrating 101 years in business, was our first ever brand icon. And what we meant by that was we wanted to acknowledge a major restaurant company that was both recognizing its legacy, many generations in business, while also pushing the envelope on innovation. So really living at that intersection of legacy and innovation, because we all know that there's a lot of big chains out there that are legacy chains, and they can't seem to keep up with the times. They can't seem to modernize. But there are some very successful chains that are they are still very youthful. They're still very innovative. So launched it last year, recognizing White Castle. This year,
by the way, we won a Neal Award for.
We won a Neal Award for that. So big thank you to Holly who participated. We were in White Castle's headquarters. We did a big multimedia profile with some videos. By the way, go check that out, nrn.com/white-castle. And you can go check that out. But importantly, we are here for the 2023 Brand Icon winner, which, let me put down my little fidget thing here and give a drum roll. Taco Bell, ladies and gentlemen, Taco Bell, the 2023 brand icon. Look, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? Taco Bell is 61 years old, and yet, is there any brand more in tune with the youth of today? It just blows my mind that this brand that first opened when JFK was president is now, has Doja Cat in their promotions and LeBron James. And we wanted to really get behind the scenes and see what's behind that. So I had the pleasure of going to their headquarters in Irvine, California, and speaking with several executives, including incoming CEO Sean Tresvant, and just getting a sense of what's the secret here. How does Taco Bell continue to thrive, continue to be successful? Yes, with sales, they did about $13 billion in sales in 2022 across 7,000 restaurants in the U.S. They are growing, but just to be such an embedded participant of the cultural zeitgeist, Taco Bell means something to everyone, whether that's good or bad. It's mostly good though. I think everybody has sort of this fun, fresh impression of Taco Bell that most restaurant chains do not enjoy. And I just really, again, wanted to understand what the key to that was. And that's what we set out to do. So spent 2 days at their headquarters. Today, we are excited to announce them as brand icon and put out into the world the result of my reporting. You can go to nrn.com right at the top of the website. If you go there, well, it might not be there by the time you go there, but nrn.com/taco-bell will get you right there. You can read the feature that I wrote based on my reporting. You can also catch 3 videos that we filmed, hear from the executives, learn from their leadership team, what makes Taco Bell such an iconic brand. And the only teaser I will give you, the sort of big theme of it, is they have this saying that they want to be restlessly creative. And I really love that. As a creative myself, I think we all would love to be restlessly creative, but that can be exhausting. But they legitimately, in their marketing, in their messaging, in their operations, they continue to drive innovation by always trying to be better, always trying to improve upon what they have. And from the C-suite down to the front line, they motivate their team to look at something from new angles, to take some big swings. And that's really kind of the key. But you can unpack it more, obviously, with the story, with the videos that we did, and see what is so key to Taco Bell being so successful. My thank yous, by the way, out to Taco Bell and their leaders, Sean Tresvant and several other executives, for taking a lot of time and opening their doors to us, with several security swipes, I might add, but they did open the doors. But it was very humbling for them to welcome us into their office and give us kind of that behind the scenes tour. So you can get it to nrn.com/taco-bell.
And there are videos of you eating, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't get enough of me eating White Castle sliders last year, you can now watch me eating a lot of Taco Bell. The most Taco Bell I've had in probably a decade plus, all in one sitting. But it was awesome. And Liz Matthews, who is their executive chef, essentially her title's Chief Food Innovation Officer. She and the Innovation Kitchen there, I mean, that's like hallowed ground. And I think people need to understand, 20 years Liz Matthews has been with Taco Bell, and she has a great team with her too. But if you think about the last 20 years of menu innovations at Taco Bell, I mean, they've had hit after hit after hit, and it is really unique dishes. Like, there's some things that are just come out of left field, but they just are succeeding kind of one thing after another. And to be able to go to their innovation kitchen to see where this all came from, to talk to Liz, who's been leading the team behind that. Missy Shapok, who's their head of sustainability and nutrition, she also participated to get to sit down and have some food and kind of talk about what was behind these dishes. That included, by the way, their brand spanking new grilled cheese steak fries, which I believe just came out yesterday for when we're recording this, but Tuesday of this week. I got to eat those. They were great, delicious. Got to try the gelato. Anyway, you can watch me eating all of those things and commenting on them.
I mean, you just think about the Crunch Wrap. That's their signature item now. It's unique. They created it from scratch. It's also my favorite item. So.
That's my go-to for sure. And the breakfast Crunch Wrap, by the way, is
it's delicious.
It's so good. It's just so good. They're very good at making delicious food, but at a value, right? Like Taco Bell's whole shtick is we are a value and an indulgence. But it's really interesting to sit down and understand, like, yes, we all get it, the wink and the nod about Taco Bell. We all know what people typically say about Taco Bell and the late nights, whatever. But they're in on it too. That's what makes Taco Bell so great. They know exactly who they are, and they never pretend to be anything they're not. But if you start to unpack it, it's amazing. I mean, the sustainability initiatives that I don't think anybody really knows about, how they're saving billions of condiment packets from landfills every year. They are 30% or something like that of their menu is vegan. I mean, it's incredible that there are still ways in which Taco Bell, yes, haha, funny Taco Bell, they're responsible. They're a grown-up brand as much as they are a youthful brand. So anyway, you can really unpack a lot of that again in this story, and highly recommend you go check that out. And thank you again to Team Taco Bell, which was very kind enough to open the doors to us.
Team Taco Bell.
Team Taco Bell. I know you're Team Taco Bell, Holly.
I am Team Taco Bell till the day I die.
Yep.
Now I want some Taco Bell. That's so mean, Sam.
I did almost get Taco Bell for lunch yesterday as a way to honor brand icon. I didn't have time for it, but I might do that today. I'm craving it now. Although I had a month's worth while I was there, but that was over a month ago that I went there. So now
That's
it's time
not
to eat
too
Taco
much.
Bell.
There's never too
I
much.
was going to say it was well over a month ago, Sam.
Yeah, it's time to get back into my Taco Bell cravings.
There's never too much Taco Bell.
It's true.
Never.
No such
Don't
thing.
even say that. There's no limit.
Okay, I will not say that again.
All right. Well, I mean, how was your weekend, guys? What'd you do? Let's talk about that before we get into the wah-wah.
It's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Am I?
It's Wednesday. I went to a show last night. Who needs weekends? I can do things during the week.
Lucky.
And actually thought about one of our stories, not to jump the gun here, but got a drink at a Broadway show last night and tipped the bartender on a little tablet thing. And thought about all the people who are so mad about that as I did it. Tipped a little extra just for them.
And did you feel all high and mighty doing it?
Actually, the bartender was really grateful. Like, she was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That means a lot." And I was like, "All right."
I mean,
Yeah.
It's an easy way to make someone's day. And then I had a great night, like at the show. And, you know, I'm not going to think about that $250 or whatever it was.
I think
after this
bartenders are
moment.
totally different than like when you go to like a coffee shop and you get a drip coffee. Like that's a totally different experience. And I feel like that's kind of what people are debating now. We'll get into that story later. But last night I had Five Guys for the first time.
I do appreciate that extra serving has become the platform by which we are discovering Holly's blind spots in the fast food world and what you are trying for the first time that the rest of the world is like, are you serious? What did you think, Holly?
So I was out late at night.
No, really?
Fun.
I'm shocked. Although Tuesday, Holly, come on. Tuesday. Jeez.
And so I walked by Five Guys and I was like, I need French fries. And so I got French fries at Five Guys. There was nobody else in there. They gave me 3 times the amount of fries. The whole bag was sopping with oil. And I ate them in the car and it was amazing.
That's actually the amount of fries you get at Five Guys.
Yeah,
there was a little cup and then it was just all over the bag.
That's
like,
a Five Guys
the bag was
move.
full.
That's a Five Guys serving of fries. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was so many fries.
The cup is pointless. Yeah.
It's kind of, and did you get it in a brown bag? Did you get a brown
bag? 2 brown bags.
It's kind of like their thing that the brown bag, it's greasy on the bottom because all of the food's overflowing. That's like kind of their shtick, but they're really darn good fries. I like
they're really
Five Guys
good
fries a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I did have to add some salt to them, but they're really good. Fair
enough. And the burger, did you get a burger?
Didn't need a burger. I just got fries. I just got that big bag of fries.
Doesn't count then. I'm not allowing it.
I don't know if I could eat that burger. I think
Five Guys
too much for me.
burgers and fries. You gotta get the burger. Yeah.
Oh, I still want Taco Bell. But we're eating spicy chicken, not to ruin another story for us today, but we are doing a menu tracker video, which I'm sure everybody on this podcast loves. But it's all about spicy chicken because that is the new thing. And I could tell you a lot of chains introduced spicy chicken in the past month. So we're doing a video focused on that, not to jump ahead. Which we should
start talking about the news. Clearly we want to talk about these things. We picked some good things to talk about today, I think. So
yeah, because they're in the news. They're very current. So let's get to the bad news first. Burger King has several franchisees who have filed for bankruptcy, 3 since January. I mean, what does this mean for Burger King? We were talking about it earlier on the call. Burger King saw over 7% same-store sales increase last quarter, but they have this Reclaim the Flame $400 million investment into their franchisees. I mean, so what does it mean that they're going bankrupt? Is that because of Reclaim the Flame? Is it not doing enough? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think that the Reclaim the Flame investment and the bankruptcies are like a chicken and the egg situation. Reclaim the Flame launched a year or 2 ago now at this point because the franchises needed something, needed some help, needed a boost from the parent company, which Burger King stepped up and organized and launched this whole big campaign, which is in its 2nd phase now, I think. But because so many franchises were already struggling, which makes sense, this was like 2021 probably, it feels inevitable that some of them, rather than really thriving with the investment, would continue on the path that they were on and end up having to shut their doors or declare bankruptcy as another means of, getting financing or whatever the case may be. So I think those are two different things. I think that there are two different ways that Burger King is trying to get everyone organized and on the same page and moving forward. And I think that last quarter's financials really show that it's working. I mean, they did have about 7% system-wide same-store sales increase. Their traffic was flat, which I think everyone in the industry would agree is a huge success for last quarter. Across the industry, traffic was not great. So I really think that this feels kind of like the final like cleansing before Burger King is about to start doing something really good. I was gonna say something else and I lost it.
Shall I pick up from there?
Do you have a thread you can pick up from that?
Feel free to jump back in if you think of it. Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of, a lot of the layoffs that are happening right now. I mean, it's ugly out there right now. Earlier this year, there were some, in the restaurant industry in particular, there are some more high profile layoffs. For example, McDonald's and like 10,000 employees or something like that. But it's been ongoing all year. We hear it not just in the restaurant industry, but I think all of us here probably have been affected by it on a personal level. I've had friends lose jobs. And in general, right now, there's just a lot of cutting and going back to what we've talked about all year, this efficiency. Companies are having to make some very difficult decisions. And I think that's sort of comparable to what's happening at Burger King, which is, in order to really move forward into, what you think the company can and should be, sometimes that starts with some dirty work. Now, bankruptcy is a little bit of a different ballgame because that's legitimately, this is not you're a great employee, but we want to save some money. This is legitimately, these stores are not performing. But I do think, again, what Burger King corporate from a sort of broader strategy is up to right now, beyond bankruptcies, just with their Reclaim the Flame and some of these other initiatives, is they are trying to recognize, how do we, cut bait to some degree? How do we clean up what's going on, make some tough decisions, invest? And again, that always looks bad before it can be good. So yes, I agree with Leanne that I think that, we'll see, we won't be able to judge what they're doing for another year or two to see how did Reclaim the Flame go? How did store closures and some of these things that they've done affect the business broadly? We won't know, but what they're doing is not so different from what a lot of companies are doing. Again, not only making difficult decisions, but they're investing in operational efficiencies. They're investing in marketing. These are some of the key components of Reclaim the Flame that will take a while to roll out. They will take investments, resources, and we won't know truly what the impact will be for a while. But if I could also just loop back to the Five Guys example, and even Taco Bell, make this all one nice, neat little package. I think that Burger King has a problem, which is that it occupies the most saturated space in the country. Burger King's problem is they are third in the burger wars, to McDonald's and Wendy's. And it's hard to distinguish. I think some burger brands find it harder to distinguish themselves than, for example, Taco Bell. Taco Bell is an industry of one, and that's no knock on Taco John's, Del Taco, and other Mexican QSRs. It's really just to say that you have Taco Bell and you have everybody else. And Taco Bell's relationship to customers is so distinct and unique. And again, everybody knows exactly what they're getting out of Taco Bell. And unless you live in where, the primarily West Coast where Del Taco is located, you don't have a lot of Mexican QSR options. You have fast casual QSR, Chipotle, Qdoba. You have those options, but I don't know about you guys, but I put those in different boxes, right? I'm not saying to myself, should I do Chipotle or should I do Taco Bell? It's usually, should I do Chipotle or Torchy's or Moe's? And then for another experience, I'm saying, should I go get Taco Bell or not? And where this relates, I'll just bring it back here to burgers. If I'm hungry for a burger, I'm like, okay, what have I got here? Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's. I live in Columbus, so Team Wendy's. But there are so many options. It typically is, what's the closest to me right now? Burger King has to distinguish itself among its competitors. And I think Reclaim the Flame is one of the ways they're trying to do that. And this is another 50, 60-year-old company. They've been through this before. You go through cycles of this. But in 2023, what is unique about Burger King that gets people to choose Burger King over McDonald's and Wendy's? And, gun to my head right now, I don't know. I don't know what, I couldn't tell you. If I blindfolded myself and ate all three of those burgers, I could say, oh yeah, that's Burger King. They've got a distinct taste. But what makes me crave it? They have to figure that out in order to rise above the rest of the burger competition. And so it seems like this is kind of their moves to figure out how to do that.
Well, do you think their portfolio got bloated the same way that Subway's got bloated? I mean, do you think that those have any correlation?
Yeah, I think it could, right? So less so than Subway. Subway's problem was it was so cheap to open a Subway, and it was such a small footprint that you could pop one of these into anywhere. And so they did, because it was cheap and easy. And so you had a Subway across the street from a Subway. Burger King doesn't have that problem. There's no Burger King across the street from a Burger King. However, you could see, they probably did see Burger Kings in neighborhoods that didn't need a Burger King, or Burger Kings in neighborhoods that didn't want a Burger King. So there could have been some of that going on. Certainly today, you see these smaller footprint QSRs, not to make this all about Taco Bell, but really top of mind for me this week.
It's always about Taco Bell for me.
It's always about Taco Bell. But you think about Taco Bell's Go Mobile prototype, which was specifically designed to be a small footprint, off-premises heavy prototype that you could pop into a neighborhood that you previously couldn't put a Taco Bell because there was no real estate. You didn't have that traditional real estate that they used to need. Now Go Mobile gets in there. Burger King could be a similar situation where, and they've played with some prototypes. They were one of the first ones in the thick of the pandemic to be like, look at our fancy new prototype renderings. I don't know if they ever opened that one, but that was like, they had like pneumatic tubes and it was crazy. So Burger King needs to probably go that direction where they can figure out how do we close down some of these big box locations in neighborhoods that are no longer craving Burger King, and instead prioritize maybe a smaller footprint build that we can strategically locate near the Burger King fans. There's a lot of sort of guessing on my part on that, but based on what they're doing, it's totally in line with other companies that are following that playbook.
Your gut is strong, or you have absorbed some of our content by osmosis, because they do have their sizzle prototype, which is basically exactly what you're describing. And their
Leanne, I read all of our content, of course.
Okay.
Listeners can't see her eye roll.
They heard it, don't worry.
Yeah.
Burger King's biggest franchisee, Carroll's, which is doing well, has just started rolling out the sizzle prototype. There are other sizzle stores, but that was part of the Reclaim the Flame investment. It's a smaller footprint. It's got more off-premises capabilities. So yes, your gut is spot on.
Yes, I was just teeing you up, Leanne. I was just teeing you up.
Okay.
Well, talking about new prototypes, one of my friends came up to me the other day and goes, did you know Taco Bell has a 3-lane drive-thru? I was like, they got more than that. And let me tell you, it's been in the works for a long time.
Were they talking about Defy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fancy. That was one of those renderings you saw, and you're like, yeah, sure, they'll open that. And sure enough, they opened it. And I think there's only one. There's only the one in Minneapolis. And I don't know that they're necessarily committed to it on a big scale, but it is something I think franchisees can do. And yeah, look, I mean, we've seen this from others. Jack in the Box was another one that recently introduced a digital prototype. I forget what they called it, but it was, again, same thing. Shrink the box, find efficiencies, prioritize off premises, mostly be for digital orders, drive-through, and delivery pickups. And they were doing way more sales than a traditional Jack in the Box at less capital expenditure, right? This is what this is all about. And if I could, with Taco Bell, I did sit down with franchisee Brian Cox of CNR Restaurant Group. They own, I think, 70 Taco Bells, something like that. And he was, he said it himself. He said, if Taco Bell is successful and our stores are making money, we will open more Taco Bells. That's what franchising is all about, especially with these big groups like a Carroll's. They want to see strong unit economics to encourage them to open more. And corporate's job is to figure out the right recipe from an operational standpoint to get strong unit economics so that franchisees can see, so they will be motivated to expand. And these small footprint prototypes, Sizzle and Go Mobile and whatever the heck Jack in the Box calls theirs, these are designed to be strong unit economics because, again, lower CapEx, higher profitability, better efficiency, more money, which they like.
Look at you using CapEx. You're so fancy today.
Alicia, she's rubbing off on me. She's using these terms in her stories, and I just feel like inspired.
Well, at least you read her stories.
Yeah, she's the only one. Otherwise.
All right, well, let's talk about tipping because Joanna Fantozzi wrote a really great story about tipping fatigue. You know, people have this fee fatigue that we're used to, but then I think people tacking on a tip on top of that is difficult. You know, she brought up a lot of instances, and so did this Pew Research study, brought up a lot of instances of like getting the iPad turned around to you and having to tip while the person's watching you. You know, Leanne, you brought up the bartender who's probably seeing your tip as it comes. If they use one of those like things where they bring it to the table and they could put your card in, those are the same kind of thing. But that there's a lot of fee fatigue and tipping fatigue amongst customers who are really saying, I'm already paying enough for my food. I'm seeing these numbers come in. The check is going up. And then at these places that aren't sit-down restaurants, that's not a part of it, that they're really seeing a hard time adding more money on through a tip. I mean, so what have your personal experiences been with this?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a number of times on Extra Serving, and I think a lot of people probably know my position on this at this point. But it's funny because just last week, one of my too many group texts. Let's talk about group text fatigue. Am I right? Because that's one thing that I have to silence way too many threads. Anyway, one of my group texts from a bunch of college friends, and somebody brought it up in that text thread, which was, guys, you never believe how much, what I just had to do. They asked me to tip. Isn't this ridiculous? And so we've reached a boiling point. And again, we've talked about this a number of times, but just to reiterate, the fees are one thing. And you might remember a couple of months ago when Toast tried to add the 99-cent fee for digital transactions. Everybody exploded. They walked it back. And that really surfaced this tension of like, you can't just slap fees onto orders because, especially when it comes to QSR fast casual, like people will notice. You can't add $1 and think nobody notices it when it's an $8 order, a $9, $10 order. And already menu prices are up. Then we have fees, delivery fees especially. That's for the last 4 years. I mean, customers are way too familiar with how much they have to pay for delivery. So already we're just spending too much money on food, perception-wise, right? We'll get into whether or not it is too much or not. But perception is I'm spending too much because I thought I was buying a $6 burger, but $15 later I'm wondering how this happened. So then you add on the tipping piece of this, and something really changed in our society because tipping is uniquely American. For any of you, like I have had the luxury of traveling in Europe, you discover tipping is just not a part of their culture. This is an American thing. And when you grow up with it, you're kind of used to it, right? I was used to, once I started spending money on my own food, I understood 20% tip is the nice thing to do. However, I also grew up with that expectation of what you were tipping. Service had to be rendered for tip to be provided in my mind, right? So like that was a table service restaurant. You tipped. The waiter or waitress was very kind to be very friendly and added a little something extra. Therefore, you tip. Something shifted in the tech boom of, call it 10 years ago, specifically with like Square and some of these companies that, to your point, Holly, you had the sort of self-powered transaction. You swipe your own card, and then there's this, touch screen where you type in what your things, or they do it for you and swivel the thing to say, here, sign this. But first you have to decide, I don't want to tip. And that changed everything because suddenly we were expected to tip on counter service transactions. And I think we probably are due for, as an industry, to sit down and come to some agreement about what we believe is tippable, because I will tell you candidly, Sam Okas's perspective on tipping, I don't believe I should tip counter service experiences, and I don't believe I should tip on a pickup. If I place an order for takeout and I walk in and grab the bag and walk out, in my mind, there was not really service rendered. If I sit down and am, provided service, today I got coffee with some friends and was, the waitress, all I got was coffee, but still great service. She gets a tip, right? So everything is thrown into confusion and chaos because I think everybody, as this data suggests, we suddenly feel pressure to tip everywhere because we've crossed this line into even counter service experiences deserve a tip. And a whole other facet of this, by the way, is I don't carry cash. I'm an American who is an old millennial. Of course, I don't carry cash. Like why would I never spend cash anywhere. But like that old fashioned slip a bill to the hotel valet, like I feel bad because I'm sorry, dude, I don't have cash. I can't do that sort of weird transaction where we hide this in the palm of my hand. So everything's confusing now. And I'm going to let Leanne speak in a second, I promise. But this is clearly something I'm passionate about. If the consumer is confused, as this data suggests, if they feel like they're tipping in too many places, this is something the restaurant industry should address. You do not want your customer to feel guilty. You do not want your customer to feel shame because they will blame you for that. I recently had the experience to be a guest on Zach Oates' is his podcast at Ovation. Maybe some of you are familiar. If you're not, go check it out. He and I spoke. I believe they aired the episode a couple days ago. We got into this as well, and he detailed an experience where he was at an ice cream shop and placed an order, and the person verbally across the counter said, "Would you like to leave a tip?" And like that's just crossing a line because then you're like, I have to say no, or I have to like appear like a total jerk by saying no, or tip when I don't feel like I should have. And that's so emblematic of where we are. And so you should not make your customer feel shame. You should not make them feel guilty. And so I suggest you don't make them tip if that service is not rendered that deserves tipping. And the final thing I'll say about this, I have lots of thoughts. Sorry, Leanne, I promise I'm going to get to you here. I think tipping is being, don't hate me for saying this, America. It feels like, and I can tell you this is how the consumer feels. The consumer feels like tipping is being used to subsidize your inability to pay higher wages. I'm just telling you, if you don't know that, that's what they think. That was what my group thread believed. They were sort of crying foul over this. I can't believe I have to pay $20 for a burger and they expect me to tip. There's no perfect answer here, but we need to figure this out, which is you can increase your prices and, and you can ask for a tip if service is rendered and you can, add fees. But you should be doing this. You can't do all of these things and then not be paying your employees better, right? So like if you need to pay your employees more, don't pass that buck too much onto the customer because they'll know it. Or do that, increase your prices, but don't ask for a tip. You know what I mean? Like you've got to, there's a some sort of solution here that maybe we're not all figuring out yet, but we've got to, because the customer thinks, all right, enough of this. I don't believe I should tip. I don't believe I should be the one paying better wages for your employees. It's your job. I'm already spending too much on your food. Sorry.
That was quite the monologue.
All right, I'm going to sign off now. You guys have got this. I have strong feelings. I mean, look, we've talked about this a number of times, and I just but hey, I guess I should say as a final thing, I don't believe tipping as a institution, let's call it, is in itself bad. And I do believe when you get great service, you should tip well. Because I can't tell you how many people I just felt such joy to tip them because I'm like, you made my experience so much better. Hospitality should be rewarded, but it should not be the default, right? The reward should not be default because we all know there's a lot of lousy service out there. Okay, Leanne.
Are you done?
I'm done. I'll mute just to prove it.
Do you have any more final things you want to tack on there? Because you got 6 or 7 in.
Actually, now that I think of it, no, I'm done. You go.
Okay. Well, first of all, I am in fact one of those people who thinks that we should just pay everybody a living wage and do away with tipping as an institution. Like, that's my dream. However, I'm well aware that we're never going to do that unless literally everyone bands together and gets on board, which I think we all know is also a pipe dream. So, in the meantime, I think that what you were saying at the beginning of that rant, like 15 minutes ago, about perception is really the key here. Because I can see as, like, if you own a coffee shop and say, you're doing your best, you're paying your employees as much as you can, like, whatever. I can see adding a tipping option to the tablet or utilizing that option with the mindset of, like, well, it can't hurt. Like, maybe 75% of people won't tip, but maybe, the barista will pocket an extra, $50 on a busy morning shift or something. And, like, what's the bad thing there? But the bad thing there, of course, is the perception. It's the person who is going to get outraged about it and text all their college buddies and presumably with, the name of the coffee shop and can you believe this or that. And also, you can't stop your employees from doing the awkward, like, do you want to leave me a tip thing? You can say, like, just I've even had baristas or bartenders say, like, oh, like, there's an option to leave a tip if you want, but don't feel like you have to. But you can't force your employees to say that or to, like, say nothing or look away to make your drink while they're on that screen. So perception is really the line to walk there, because you'll always have, like, people like me who aren't bothered by it and who will hit the highest tip percentage anyway and just move on with our days. But I know I'm in the minority on that. So it's really figuring out how, like, knowing your crowd, how are they going to view you if you have this as an option? How much control do you have over your employees and how they treat it and how they treat their consumers? I really think that if you're treating your employees well and you're paying them, well enough, whatever that is, then they're not going to be nasty or rude or whatever to their employees or to their consumers about it. They're not going to say, the whole, this is where you tip me thing that we all know some of them do.
That's a great point, though, too, which is you should train your employees about what you, because if you are one of those restaurants that is a counter service, but you open, you leave the tipping option available, you need to train your employees on how to handle that, because they are going to encounter situations where somebody's mad about tipping or something, right? And again, to provide an experience to the customer that doesn't make them feel uncomfortable, the employee can help with that, but you need to tell them how to do that. That can't be up to them, because that's not fair to them.
Well, so in New York City, there is a robot barista, no humans, and they ask for a tip when you use it. I'm sure that outrages you, Sam.
Well, yeah. Well, so I think I told the story a couple maybe months ago by now, but when I was flying through Newark Airport and I did a self-service thing and it asked for a tip, and I was outraged because I'm like, who am I tipping? Like, who does a tip go to? And when I'm already being charged out the wazoo at the Newark Airport on some snacks for my kids, I especially am not like, no, I'm not giving you a little extra because, by the way, I facilitated this whole thing, right? And we haven't even gotten into the tip credit. I mean, that's a whole part of this too, right? I 100% understand where tipping is actually good for your employees most of the time, right? Like tip sharing, tip pooling. I know some waiters and waitresses, and why almost all the restaurant industry is against the elimination of the tip credit is because you actually do get paid pretty well if you allow for tipping and there's tip pooling, and like you can get significantly higher than minimum wage with the help of tipping. But that is in the case of especially full service restaurants that are providing great service, a great experience. There has to be experience attached to tipping, in my opinion. I don't want anybody to think I'm downplaying, the importance of making that burger at the QSR, pulling the lever to dispense the coffee. Like there is that is value too, but if you're in that environment, you should be paid fairly by your employer for that. If you are leveraging your personal skill set and personality to provide a great experience through service to a guest, you deserve to be tipped for that. And yes, you should also be paid fairly, but I think that's an instance where you went above and beyond, and therefore you could be tipped for that.
Well, so the largest company that has tipping is Starbucks. And Starbucks rolled it out about a year ago to almost all of its stores. The unionized stores do not have tipping. And so I think that that's super interesting that a big brand like Starbucks, the employees wanted tipping. Like that was something the employees wanted. And I don't know how it's going. I don't know what the public perception is of it. I haven't really seen anything written up. I don't know if they're getting tipped, if they're not. But I think that's interesting that that's the biggest company to come out with tipping. And, you know, Starbucks is having an image problem right now. Though their sales are the highest they've ever been, the image, we were talking about that, the image of tipping is that you're not paying your workers enough. And they've had all these union struggles. And I think that it's not a good look for them, but their employees wanted it. And so they rolled it out. And I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes in the long run.
Yeah, look, if you leave, I think a lot, the counter argument to this from the restaurant's behalf will say, we're just leaving it as an option. And there will be people who choose to tip on a counter service experience, and you can do both, pay your employees well, a fair wage, and leave tipping open to invite your customer into supporting them even more. And that's great. I don't think that's bad. But I think we have to figure out the presentation of it, right? It's these experiences where, you know, you're in front of the employee, you're deciding whether to tip. It's putting the customer in this position of feeling like a piece of crap. Like that, you don't ever want them to feel like a piece of crap. This is where I think a tip jar, old-fashioned tip jar, yes, I don't use cash anymore, so it's tricky, but like the beauty of the tip jar is it's sitting there. Now, some people will tip as a grand gesture of, look how saintly I am by dropping my extra coins in this tip jar, right? But like, that's a good way for it to just be there. You know, it's there. You drop in your extra change when you've got it, or you're feeling generous that day, you drop in a dollar bill or a $5 bill or whatever. But I think it's when it's forcing you, when it's part of the actual transaction of, you know, sign my name, no receipt, oh, and tip. That's when it becomes like you're saddling the customer with that decision every single time. Whereas, hey, this is here and you can participate if you choose to, but you don't have to. That's the part of it I think we have to really figure out. Okay,
and I think we have to move on from this because I can't hear another Sam rant. I just can't.
I've had a lot of coffee today, so I'm on 4 cups today. 3 is my average, and once I get to that 4th, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm unpredictable.
Well, let's talk about Gen Z, everybody's favorite topic. You know, we talk about Gen Z a lot, but
they love boneless chicken.
They love boneless chicken. I know you can't figure out why, Sam, but they love boneless chicken. And chicken sandwiches happen to be boneless chicken. And so there's this new version of the chicken sandwich wars that we have so often covered and talk about, and now they're coming back again because Gen Z loves flavor, they love sauces, and they love texture. And so we're filming Menu Tracker today. And in the past month, spicy chicken from Shake Shack, Wingstop, KFC, and Popeyes have all come out. And so, I mean, that's a lot of people who are rolling out specifically spicy chicken. And it's a weird time of year to roll out spicy chicken because I feel like I associate it more with the summer and not the winter. But that's my personal, I see your faces, but I associate it with the summer. I have spicy food summer. But
spicy warms you up in the winter.
It warms up your mouth, not your face.
Good one.
I wasn't trying.
Was that a burn? I think it was just some words strung together with no real meaning.
Warms up your mom.
So Gen Z and their boneless chicken loves, we saw the sauce wars earlier this summer. Now we're seeing the spice wars. Just lots of wars going on, specifically in food. That's all we're talking about. But there's a lot that's been added to this chicken sandwich wars that started in 2019, and they keep growing and they keep building, and we're seeing more and more iterations of them, and they're popular. So, I mean, what do you guys think about this new iteration of the chicken sandwich wars?
I think it's delicious.
Yeah, there we go. End of story.
I think that somebody figured out what tastes good, and now they're all making it, and that's good for me. No, I mean, I think it's the chicken sandwich evolution is so funny to me because, trends are very normal. Somebody starts using some random ingredient, and next thing you know, you feel like you're seeing it everywhere. But the fact that the chicken sandwiches have evolved at what feels like every quick service chain for the past 4 years now in similar manners, everyone's got a chicken sandwich, and now everybody's putting some kind of funky sauce on it, and now everyone's making it spicy, just feels so like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, there hasn't been as much, like, every one is a little bit different, but the fact that every chain is following kind of the same trends and evolution, and the fact that it's happened over the last 4 years specifically, when so much has happened and so many curveballs have hit the industry specifically, to see these, the chefs and the kitchen innovation teams kind of come up with the same ideas at the same times, and all of the sandwiches kind of change in different but extremely similar ways, is amusing to me. But it's working. These sandwiches are still selling. Popeyes is still selling chicken sandwiches like mad. Chick-fil-A, despite being the original quote unquote victim of this whole thing, has not suffered at all. And in fact has evolved their own chicken sandwich for the first time, I think, ever in its history.
It's spicy.
Yeah, it's spicy. And some of them are made out of cauliflower. Like, you just so it's working. I hope I do feel like I'm hearing less of the like competitive chatter, like the quote unquote wars, except from our own team. At the beginning, it was Popeyes saying, we're going to beat Chick-fil-A at their own game. And then other brands saying, we're better than Popeyes. I feel like I'm hearing less of that from the companies themselves. And people are just really focused on creating really good chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, I think once upon a time, you had the burger chains, for example, threw out a chicken sandwich for those weirdos who were going to the burger chain and didn't want a burger. Once upon a time, it was kind of like eliminating the veto vote. You had to have a chicken sandwich because there was somebody want to eat healthy and have a chicken sandwich, right? Well, then chicken became the number one protein in America. People love chicken. People love fried chicken, especially. And so it became that it was no longer enough just to have a chicken sandwich. You had to have a chicken sandwich with flavor. And I think the first iteration of the chicken sandwich wars showed us that, you could go more than just here's a piece of fried chicken on a bun with pickles. That suddenly it was like, oh, like you have to have a good chicken sandwich, with good spices in the batter, a good piece of chicken, a better bun, all these things. So now this is naturally going to the next level, which is there's a lot of competition out there. You have to differentiate your chicken product, and how else to do that but adding creative flavors, toppings, other ingredients, right? Sauces, these kinds of things. And so I'm here for it as a big fan of chicken sandwiches. I think this is great because it's suddenly there's more discoverability, there's more adventure in a chicken sandwich, which again, once upon a time used to be, is it spicy or not spicy? Now, spicy, of course, spicy is still in, but it is, what are the other flavors involved here? And it's really kind of quaint to think, like when Popeyes came out with their chicken sandwich and Chick-fil-A had their thing, everybody was just like, here's a piece of chicken with pickles. Like that's tasty, don't get me wrong, but there's so much you can do with chicken. And I'm glad to see that the restaurants are really coming around to that. And it's, your guests will come along with you because America loves chicken. And America loves chicken sandwiches. So you would do well. And by the way, also, of course, there's, you have the burger restaurants with a chicken sandwich and you have chicken sandwich restaurants. Specifically to those of you burger restaurants out there, look at your existing SKUs and think about how you can use those on a chicken sandwich, because you already have it right there in front of you. Like, get crazy. Go, try some new things on your chicken sandwich. The chicken sandwich restaurants already are, having to do that because you have to have a variety of menu options. But yes, I think this is great for the industry to have some variety with chicken, because it can be seen as a boring protein, but it does not have to be.
Well, and the flavors are more global now. So, for instance, Shake Shack is using Szechuan, Wingstop is using maple sriracha, Popeyes is using Cajun turkey and spicy truff. We had that big truff stage at one point. Everybody was
I'm
using
sorry.
truff.
Are we shortening truffle?
No, that's the sauce. The sauce is called truff.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
It's a brand.
It's a brand
Okay,
that
I'm like,
you have clearly
Mr.
been.
Mr. I read all our stories doesn't know about truff.
I just thought we were getting lazy and not saying
They-
truffle.
They work with Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I didn't know something about Taco Bell. Oh, Lord.
But so these global flavors are also what Gen Z is wanting. They want, like, we think about the BTS meal from McDonald's. They brought in one of their sauces from Korea to the US that they only have there, and they used that sauce, and it was extremely popular. So I think we're also looking at these global flavors from Gen Z.
I'd like to assert that millennials too love flavor, as do Gen X and boomers, pretty sure. But yes,
People like flavor?
It's crazy. It's wild. But yes,
No.
it's important to appeal to Gen Z. And that's, that will be the message for the next 10 years. We're doing this for Gen Z. But yes, flavor is popular.
What a great note to end on. Flavor is popular.
There we go.
Come on. That's a great note to end on. So I'm going to throw it over to Brett, who interviewed Douglas Streitzel, CEO and founder of Picklemans. Not Picklemans, Picklemans. So get that right. But thank you guys for joining me today.
Thanks, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
Belgioioso Cheese is a family-owned and operated company specializing in artisan Italian cheesemaking. Using only natural ingredients and fresh, local Wisconsin milk, master cheesemakers handcraft a full line of exceptional cheeses, guided by a commitment to quality and a respect for tradition. Ask your distributor about Belgioioso's award-winning fresh mozzarella, burrata, ricotta, mascarpone, American grana, and Parmesan. At Belgioioso, every cheese is a specialty.
You are Douglas Streitzel, founder of Picklemans. And tell me what is Picklemans for our legions of listeners who don't know what it is.
Well, we call it a gourmet cafe because when we started out, we had coffee as well. So we learned early that didn't work for our model where we were located. So now it's more of a gourmet deli. We have an artisan approach to food. I think, kind of my past experience and seeing a lot of people, and a lot of the suggestions and the food standards, even in this country versus the European standards. I think you have to almost acknowledge that something's wrong with some of the food that we eat. So, I believe trying to take out all the preservatives, staying away from some of the food colorings, and then going with no antibiotic ever chicken and no antibiotic ever pork. And then really making things from scratch. So we're more of an artisan type of a concept. All of our dressings are made from scratch daily. Our cookies made from scratch daily. Our bread, the bread I actually designed the bread about 7.5 years ago. But the bread has 7 ingredients, so it's as clean as it gets. It's par baked in a facility, Companion Bakery in St. Louis, Missouri. Then it's delivered through our distribution chain to the restaurant. So we're the only ones that can have the recipe because I own it. We have a tomato basil soup. It's a bisque, tomato basil bisque soup. That's it's our recipe. It's unique to us. In the manufacturing of food, you have to really, especially when you're making soups and sauces and things of that nature, and even the bread. But in the soups case, you give them the recipe, and then you get back, what they make it. What I found is it's really important to actually, go in and meet the team that's making, and then try to coach them into hitting the flavor profiles you're looking for. So like in the tomato bisque case, we have caramelized onions that I like. The caramelization has to be to a certain point. And this particular manufacturing plant, they actually started with the onions and the caramel, or the oil and the onions were cold together. That's how they started. So most people know that you wouldn't soak your onions in oil. However, sometimes in the manufacturing plant, you have to go in and you have to take the time to go look and pay attention to what's going on. So, with the tomato bisque, it's the caramelized onions, and then that particular soup we layer in basil. So, and all the ingredients are really layered in, but there's basil that's loaded towards the front end of it. And then at the very end, we put basil on top of that. That way the caramelized onions, the basil flavor with the tomato, and just the right spices. It like takes you back to what grandma made, when before there was a lot of processed foods.
And you've been doing this for a while. Pickle Man's is almost 20 years old, right? You founded in 2005?
I founded in 2005. So yeah, we're getting close to 20 years. I've been in the food business for over about 30 years and ran various other chains as the chief operating officer. So I got a lot of experience with that and grew a couple brands significantly. But I decided that really when you go out to eat or you go to kind of I love sandwich. I really love food. But when you would go out to eat, and most of the restaurants, unless you got, or most of the chains, unless you really got the one or two, preferred things, really it was just kind of mediocre and sometimes not even very good at all. So what I set out to do really with this brand was to, make sure that whatever we sell passes through my palate. And, the original menu had 12 sandwiches and I designed those in my kitchen, and, a lot of it's just basic common sense, really, from knowledge from the industry. Everybody knows that if you have a sandwich shop, you have to sell a turkey sandwich. So, there's basic blocking and tackling, I guess, that goes on. But, with our brand, we added a tavern style crust that we can cook, really pretty fast. I mean, the cook time's less than 3 minutes.
So that's
So it's on.
right?
Pardon me, that's our pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And the sandwiches go through, about a little under a minute and a half. They're going through at a very high temperature and it gets them just about toasted, right? And then, but the remarkable thing about it is, it's really the throughput. Some places you'll go and you'll order and it's just going to be forever. With Pickleman's, we really I set it up so it would have an assembly line fashion, so we can finish as many as 10 to a sandwich every 10 to 12 seconds off the line. So, and then the pizza goes through another oven and that's not on the sandwich line. So that goes through the, ovens that are stacked. That goes to another area where another employee can be, working on cutting up the packaging pizza. And then we have a hot table and a salad table. So there's a number of different flows to the register and it's been a pretty successful combination. In fact, I did it really, so, a young couple could, find their dream and owning their own business by buying my franchise and opening up 3 to 5 stores. And, now they can be the soccer coach, the volleyball coach, when they want to take the kids to Hawaii or something, they don't have to ask, they don't have, someone that they have to ask. And, they're able to go on a 2-week vacation.
Wait, sorry, how can they go on a 2-week vacation if it's just them running the franchise?
Well, when you scale it to 3 to 5 stores, then you're in a comfortable enough position where you have, you'll have an accountant, a bookkeeper, and you'll have a district manager, or depending, you might call him your operations leader or even an operating partner, somebody that you give a percentage of the business to, that they'll take care of it for you. So, that way mom can have her same career and it's really a model. I think that, it's really not all that unique. What's unique about it is it's cleaner food. It's a cleaner food fast, that tastes good.
And you're up to 29 locations now, is that right?
Yes, we have 29 locations and we're going to open one in January in Dallas. We've got some area developments happening in Dallas as well as Indianapolis.
And why is it called Pickle Man's?
I guess it's kind of a funny story, and in some cases I've people have not wanted me to, I don't know. It's an awkward story, I guess, to say. What, when you're developing a concept, one of the most important things is have a name that's brandable. So I had just gone through, a whole litany of lists, and nothing just felt right. And, lo and behold, we were going to Detroit, my wife and I, and my son, and we were going to visit a friend of ours. They had two girls, 4 and 6. So Jack's diaper was wet. He was a year and a half old, and the one little girl goes, "Look, Mommy, look, Jack has a pickle." So we were kind of in stitches about it. Well, we're all in stitches about it, actually. So probably an hour and a half later, I had this vision of the logo, this great big kosher dill logo, because a good deli in New York's got a great big kosher dill. They got pickles, so I'm gonna make it about the pickle, and then from there I go, okay, I got Picklemans, so it's Pickleman's. And and then I had an envision of my mascot's name's Big Dill. He's a 6-foot walking pickle. In each of the franchisees, they can not all of them have their own suits, but most of them have used Big Dill in a promotion or two, and he'll go to birthday parties. Some of the franchisees have dressed him up as Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. You name it, and he goes to the kids' birthday parties, and he brings levity, and especially at times like this. I mean, we just went through the horrendous pandemic. No matter what way you fall or how you think of that, but it's been pretty dang stressful for everyone. So and we found that recently or in the last few years. He's brought a lot of levity to to different birthday parties. Just kind of, it's fun. It's fun and it tastes good. And moms don't mind feeding their kids the food, so it makes it really a healthy place to be.
And do you operate any restaurants, or is it all franchised?
I operated the first 2 franchises. That's a long story or a short story. I'll make it short. So I operated the first 2 stores just to kind of prove the concept, and then really my goal was to teach people how to be successful. I read a book a long time ago called Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He has a whole series. I'm sure you've heard of that, but the premise was, you could give a man a fish and feed him for a day, but you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So I took that to heart, and that's why that's kind of what drives me right now is just teaching them how to be successful and be able to have that dream.
And how did you learn to be successful? As I understand it, you worked in operations at Jimmy John's for a while, right?
Yeah, I did. I started at Jimmy John's in 1992. Right at the end of 1992, I went through a training program, and then I visited the restaurants a few times in a couple different college towns. There weren't that many of them. I think there were 10 at that point. And you go in and they'd run out of bread, and they had things that, and I've always been somebody that's been industrious, and I've been making money since I was a kid, and from various things. I guess picking up apples at a penny a pop when I was a young kid, so I could eat an ice cream cone was basically how I learned how that whole thing works. So I've worked ever since, and I looked at it. I played college sports. I played a few different sports. I was an athlete, and I knew a lot about building teams. And what I did know is the industry itself. They didn't treat people all that well, especially the kids that were working in the restaurants. You get yelled at and screamed at when you're working in these restaurants, and a lot of it might have been, that the people were, the management, the owner was under a lot of stress. He just didn't know how to, he or she maybe just didn't know how to deal with it. But nonetheless, they'd lash out. There wasn't a lot of culture back then. And I believe that I could turn the little sandwich shops around one by one and run the company. And in fact, that's what I ended up doing in about 2 years. I ran all the corporate company. doubled their sales volume in about 3 years, and they started selling franchises. And I ran the franchise side of it and helped out some franchises, and even walked away with a really nice gift from one of the franchisees. Then I went on the custard concept. I guess Jimmy and I we knocked heads a little bit, and I'd say we have a little bit different mindset and things of that nature to keep it good. Then I went off to learn some experience. I got a job with a place called Ritter's Frozen Custard. Ritter's was a 50-store custard chain and based out of Indianapolis. Moved over there, ran that company for about a year and a half, and then kind of at that point, I got to see a system that they didn't have any food cost controls, they didn't have any labor cost controls, and the investment was, they wanted to have a 2-acre lot with a round building with a blue roof. That's hard to sell if you go outside of Indiana and you don't know the brand. So, one of my recommendations was John, to Mr. Ritter, I said, we're going to need to look at inline spaces and maybe end caps, and he just refused to do it. And at that time the franchisees were struggling. So, and I put together. I came in 3 months. We had 3 or 4 months. We ended up having a conference with the franchisees where I rolled out my food cost program and my labor matrix and labor scheduling program, and try to get them on the straight and narrow. But when without the ownership willing to really step back and look at the big picture and realize that to grow the brand, well, we have to have adequate cost controls and stuff. Should have been in place years ago. These people invested million back then. I think it was $1.5 million, $2 million, and that's a big number. So
for a frozen custard stand.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was
That's
really
nuts.
big numbers.
I guess
So
if you need to buy 2 acres of land, that makes it harder.
some of them had, probably good enough numbers, but you saturated that a little bit, and then you have the all overhead. I mean, it was, Andy's Custard. I'll give a shout out to them. They do it right. I know. And I know some people within that organization, so they have a pretty good package. But the blue roof and everything, so nonetheless. So I decided that that wasn't going to be a good place, because the ownership didn't have the willingness to make some concessions or at least pivot a little bit from the model.
Or the basic accounting of like food and labor cost, which is kind of crucial.
I've never hired a general manager and said, hey, you get to be the general manager, you don't have to take inventory.
Right.
I've never even heard that said.
No,
Ironically, within my system, I mean, we have some opportunities, but the franchisees, I've tried to get them to take their inventories for years and years, and I guess on one hand it's a blessing because they haven't felt like they really needed to, but I keep trying to tell them they're leaving a lot on the table, but now back to the ownership. So I'm buying one of the franchises back in O'Fallon, Missouri. We're going to be able to benchmark some of the numbers, and certainly we're going to take inventory every week, if not every day, and we're going to, try to, again, prove the concept, prove the food cost numbers. And although they all have a theoretical food cost that they can run, the computer tells them. So it's the variance in this industry that you have to know how to manage.
Totally.
And set goals.
Yeah, theoretical food cost is nice, but you have to know actually what your numbers are.
Yeah, not wait until the end of the month.
Right. No, you got to know. And so you are now entering back into actual operations by buying a franchise, and then you're going to have your own restaurant again.
Yeah, I am. I own half of one up in Omaha and part of one, a little percentage one in Lincoln, just back then to help out. But yeah, now this is my full one, and we're going to build a few corporate stores and put that model together, and then and I think that'll help sell the franchises, because right now it's I have to have numbers that I can report, that are corporately run, and so that's where we're at. But we got a great model. Our average unit volume is pretty good.
Do you want to tell us what your average unit volume is?
Well, you tell me what I don't. If you got to tell me if I'm right. 1.4432.
I mean, I don't know what your average unit volume is, but that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, 1.44 million, and some change. So that's number. That's our average unit volume for all the stores that were open for a full calendar year. Year over year, that they were up 14, I think 0.57%, which is pretty good growth, and that was how we finished 2020. 2000 I'm sorry, 2022. 2023, we seem to be doing pretty good. I don't think that much growth is there, but I know that we're going in the right direction, and we've got some big things on the horizon. We just rolled out a whole new menu, little segment set with macaroni and cheese bowls. So our macaroni and cheese is a clean product made by a good, solid Midwestern company, Blount Foods. They've done the bread companies and others. So it's a good product. So it comes down to how we can execute it, and then we're putting no antibiotic ever chicken on top of that, and no antibiotic ever pork with a few different combinations. That I think chicken bacon ranch is one of them as an example. So in making the dressings in house, I get to really highlight my flavors, and kind of do have a unique twist on things that you can't get at most of the other sub shops or sandwich stores or QSR restaurants for that matter.
So your concept is limited service, quick service, as you just said. And the menu sounds pretty complex. You got sandwiches, you got pizza, you have tomato bisque that you're apparently very proud of. You're introducing new mac and cheese bowls. Is there anything salads? You got salads, right?
We've got salads, yeah. So those are the broadliners. So mac and cheese bowls. I mean, we just rolled the mac and cheese out, but who doesn't like mac and cheese? So the kids love it. So the mac and cheese with toasted sandwiches, thin crust pizza, soup. The soup we've had since day one, and salads. We started off with just a Caesar salad. Now we've got 7 of them. So we have a fairly robust menu. But you know what we do when we bring in a product is, usually that product is represented on a pizza, on a sandwich, and in a salad. So it goes across all of the things. So we have less than 200 SKUs. I think at one point it was 150 something, but I don't want to speak out of turn. I'll just say that we have less than 200, which and a really robust menu that I think, I'm trying to appeal to offices of like 12 and families that might have, people who like to eat a lot of different things. So we have good, healthy options. Then we have things that if you want to be naughty, you can, and it's going to taste good.
So
But they're all,
what are your most popular menu items?
Turkey bacon. Our Italian club actually is usually, in some cases, that's the first one, but it's usually in the top 3 just about everywhere. So that's just it's a solid sandwich with a nice flavor profile, and it's about balance. And turkey bacon, we have a Chipotle chicken sandwich. For a long time, our Asiago chicken, we were doing an Asiago chicken in 2005. I think we were the first ones to start doing it. Like not even the big people were doing it. I thought, or the bigger brands, I had one store, so basically I went to the grocery stores and said, what do I like? And that time it was, there was an Brianna's Asiago Caesar dressing, and I got that and I put that on a sandwich. I said, this is going to be good. And then, so I called them. I said, can I get this in the case? And they said, sure. So I used that for, I don't know, 5 years. And then they quit doing the food service version of it. So I made my own recipe.
So it sounds like your approach to menu development is sort of similar to cheesecake factories in which, you know, their head guy, Dave Overton, tasted. He says, yeah, good. Put it on the menu. Is that your approach too? Or do you have a more,
Well, it's not been by committee.
sorry?
It's not been by committee, but you know, generally speaking, you know, I play with it, toy with it, and then you know, and then say, what do you think? And I'll sample guests and my employees, you
So
know, and managers. You know, we play with the food a little bit here and there.
but you're not going out and vetting the idea to a lot of people and then hiring a market research firm to justify
No,
stuff.
no, no.
You just think up a thing and you try
I
it out.
listen. It's got to pass my palate, and I'll tell you, whatever the trend is, and whatever somebody else does is about the last thing I do. I don't. I don't. I'm not. I don't. It's you can't follow. You have to lead, and you got to lead in what you got to lead in a direction that your values take you. So you know, even the best sandwich, you know, fried chicken sandwich in the business has got like 40 extra ingredients that you shouldn't be putting in your body. So we're going to be responsible with our brand, and you know, and I think that we gain. I know that we gain the confidence of you know most of our you know families and customers that come in there. A lot of them are really just fans, not only customers, they're fans of the brand because they can feel it.
Do you have a fried chicken sandwich?
No,
Do you have fryers? Doesn't sound like you need
no
it.
no fryers, no fryers, and so we're not ever going to have a fried chicken sandwich, no matter how many they sell. we're gonna do what we do. I mean, we have no antibiotic ever chicken that makes some really great chicken sandwiches, and it's good on the pizza. Um, so we have a buffalo chicken pizza, and it's no antibiotic ever. So you know, the 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 general populace is becoming more aware of the health concerns in the food system, and I believe that percentage of you know consumer out there is growing and growing every year. So you know we're just here waiting. You know those are the people that we focus on. So anyway, we have something actually fun coming out. I was just at a supplier show. Actually, I'll share with you. So we're testing a vegan, so that's gluten free, dairy free vegan crust for pizza. Um, so that's exciting, and then we have a cheese that we're testing with it that's also vegan. So you know that's a big, you know, growing population that really that are all intermixed in those little offices of 10 to 12 people. I promise you. So when you offer something like that, you get them something that they really like. They're coming more often,
Do you
and
have
everybody's getting healthier.
yes. Well, a lot of people. Do you have a lot of requests for vegan, gluten-free, no antibiotic stuff? Or I mean, is that coming from your customers or is that coming from you or both?
You know, it's important to 20 to 30% of the populace basically is in the polls. So you know those are people that I think are underserved. So that's why we're going towards that way. And it's also, you know, they in a lot of cases have a healthier lifestyle to some degree. Now you can have a vegan product and eat it and enjoy it and not be vegan wholly. You know, if you can have a balance in your life where you might eat a few things here, yet you might have a piece of fish or you might have a different protein that you don't want to give up. You know, but really it's getting a whole round, you know, kind of a, you know, having some variety in your diet, I think is healthy for you.
And is that you said about 30% of people in general are interested in that. Is that something that your customers also express, or is it more that that's what
Not
serves them? Which, you know,
not all of them, not all of them. You know, some of them do. You know, some of them really appreciate that we have cleaner food, and some of them, you know, love the products that they're able to come and eat, and they feel good about it. There's a lot of moms, especially, that are akin to, all the things, they're raising their children, and they're very protective of those kiddos. And so they do their research, and they're on the social media, and, they're becoming more, they're being more and more empowered with knowledge. And it's because of that. Moms want, they don't want their kid drinking a Coke, when they're 4. They'd rather, if they're going to have something, they'd rather have an option where we have a non-GMO lemonade, non-GMO strawberry lemonade. So with pure cane sugars, and there's 3 things in it. That's it. It's just a very, very clean label, just straightforward.
I assume.
Pardon me?
Sugar, water, and lemons, I assume, are the 3 things in your lemonade.
Yeah. It's pure cane sugar, water, and lemons. I mean, and they're non-GMO lemons.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any GMO lemons.
Pardon?
Either way, I don't think there are any GMO lemons. But regardless,
I don't know if there are or not, actually. So I know that the whole industry is very confusing, and they call things natural. They call things no antibiotics, and then there's no antibiotics ever. And a lot of it's marketing, but I will say that the no antibiotic ever means it's weight, and those are typically those are the animals that are the healthiest at slaughter, because they haven't needed antibiotics, or they'd be dead. So
well, usually what happens is they're treated with antibiotics, and then they're sold through a different channel.
right, that's what happens.
So what's your average per person check?
We're north of 20. I don't have that exactly, but it's in $20, 20-ish.
People are spending their money at Pickle Man.
Yeah.
And have you gotten any boost at all from the popularity of pickleball? Seems like a random question, but I would think people would people are pro pickle these days.
Well, pickles are fun. It's kind of you get to have a lot of fun with marketing it. I think the pickleball is certainly a sport that is really catching fire, and we have some of the people on our team play it, and we probably have some franchisees out there that sponsor it, or I know that we've been approached, but I'm not sure who's advertising what specifically.
But it could be. Yeah, it seems like a logical fit for Pickle Man's to sponsor pickleball. And so you're opening your 30th restaurant soon. And right now you're in the Midwest. Are you planning on staying in the Midwest or expanding beyond there? Depends.
Yeah, right now we're in 6 Midwestern states. We're opening our 30th store in Dallas. We have a 5-store development in Dallas. We have 2 more stores that are going to be developed in Oklahoma City, and then there's 2 more that are going in Northwest Arkansas. Those are area developments, and then there's a 4-store development in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I know that we have our existing franchisees are looking at opening up a few more too. So we've got a few out there for franchisees that already have north of 5-6 units. They're getting ready to buy another set in their territories, and maybe even in a new territory in one case. So we have a lot of internal growth, which I think is a great sign.
So you are busting out of the Midwest, opening in Dallas. So
that'll be the 7th state. Texas will make it the 7th state, and we're probably going to stay throughout the Midwest, probably in between the Rockies and the Appalachian Mountains, I guess, somewhere there, that kind of in the middle, for probably the next year and a half, 2 years. And then assuming we get some traction and sell some franchises, I think we could look to go to the East Coast. We'd go to the East Coast if we had the right person, the right franchisor. If a big group came along and they wanted to do a rather large development, we could. It's all about being able to support the supply chain, and you can't put a single store in Orlando, Florida, and get food to it at a fair price, especially food that's approved for our system. So makes it more difficult. But once you get into a large development, you can put the house there, and with anticipation, you're going to have 5 to 7 stores in 3 years or so.
And is that what you're looking for in a franchisee? Someone who wants to open at least 3 restaurants?
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for. Anybody that really wants to do, make it a career, make it a business, and kind of run the model. So we're looking 3 to 5 stores, or with the right. I mean, there's a lot of operators out there that when they do this, they want 20 stores and they want a couple different markets. So at some point, I think that those operators will see the value in the throughput potential, because really the throughput potential is first the quality of product, but the throughput potential is really the ceiling of success you're able to have when you open up a store. And I think that they'll see that our throughput potential gives them the opportunity to do quite a high volume, which makes it a lot of sense, especially if they put it in an area where they might know that has that kind of traffic.
Sure. And are you looking for experienced operators only, or can newbies also get in touch with you?
We really like to obviously see experienced people, because I think they're the ones that are going to see the value in the brand. That's, with that being said, there are people with the right, kind of the right, kind of attitude, approach to business. If somebody has, a level of success in some other area or field, and they've kind of been at the top of the echelon, or like the top 10 of their segment, or something where they have some bit of excellence in their backgrounds, something we look for, somebody that wouldn't necessarily have food experience.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just thought I'd get that out there. So in case people listening to this want to get in touch and start franchising a Pickle Man's, they know how to do it.
They do. Picklemansfranchising.com.
There you go. Picklemansfranchising.com. Pickleman's Franchising, one word, right?
One word. Yep. Picklemansfranchising.com.
Gotcha.
One word.
Good to know. And I'm glad you did that plug. And Douglas Stritzo, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Good luck in your expansion, and congratulations on your soon to open 30th location.
All right. Well, let me know if you ever want to come talk about the small stuff again. I'd love to chat with you.
Likewise. Take care.
Thank you.